They are yummy, yummy cupcakes. Yummy, yummy cupcakes. If you don't know what I'm talking about, join me at Blue Chip Banter, Blue Chip Banter Underground Radio. They're the Ranger Podcast Kings. Anyway, the New York Islanders were created in 1972 only because Long Island was ready to get a WHA or World Hockey Association franchise for their new arena. Their new arena called the Nassau Veterans Coliseum. So basically, the Islanders were created in a rush. They drafted pretty well. They were like the worst team in the NHL when they started in 72-73, but they did what few teams do. They got patient and decided to go through the draft and all that with their players instead of making costly trades. So anyway, the New York Islanders, you see this picture. This is an old picture from 1975. That's the what if. Like the Islanders built with the draft and got some great young talent. Clark Gillies, Mike Bossy, Brian Trottier, Denny Potvin, Billy Harris. Pretty much a lot of good draft players. All that. In 1978, the Islanders were coming of age. Billy Smith and Chico Resch were wrestling for the number one spot, but Chico Resch won it. The Islanders, all they had to do was beat a very weak Toronto Maple Leafs team in the quarterfinals. Both teams split the first 6 games, winning all of them at home. So practically the Islanders were supposed to win Game 7. Even though they won a couple of overtime home games in the series, the Islanders did not win Game 7 at home in overtime. It was that flip pass from Ian Turnbull to Lanny McDonald who beat Chico Resch and sent the... Or was it Billy Smith? I think it was Resch. But anyway, sent the Leafs to the Stanley Cup semifinals for the first time in 11 years. A great time to be a Leaf fan. The Islanders stewed. 1979, they looked pretty good. They wanted to go to the Stanley Cup finals. All they had to do was beat the New York Rangers, their rivals, their major rivals. And they thought they had it. They had home ice and a great chance to knock the Rangers flat. What happened? The Rangers' resiliency, their resiliency, blew the Islanders out in 6 games, despite Billy Smith's best efforts. The Islanders were desperate, and they decided in 1980 to create a phenomenon called the quote-unquote trade deadline. So on the last day that trades were acceptable in the NHL, the New York Islanders decided to trade Billy Harris and future NHL coach Dave Lewis to the Los Angeles Kings for Butch Goring, a strong center with the bubble helmet. Butch Goring would be a key piece in the puzzle for the Islanders as they rode through the playoffs, taking down the Buffalo Sabres in the semifinals until they got to the finals against the Philadelphia Flyers. The very hot Philadelphia Flyers of 1980. The team that set the record for most games undefeated in a row. 25 wins, 10 ties. Although the Flyers were kind of helped out by the fact that overtime wasn't around at that time for some dumb reason. So basically their 10 ties ended in regulation. They could have lost 1 or 2 games in overtime if they went to overtime. So anyway, the Flyers were hot, led by Pat Quinn, a former player. The Flyers looked good. Pete Peters looked good. And then all of a sudden, the Islanders' resiliency. This time they had the resiliency of being like underdogs. The great pass from Tonali to Nystrom scored the goal that got the Islanders the 1980 Stanley Cup. However, that win is tainted not because of the overtime goal, but because of a mistake by a linesman by the name of Leon Stickel, who basically did not see the puck slide over the blue line offside. And the Islanders carried the puck in illegally offside and scored the 2-0 goal. So anyway, the New York Islanders repeated themselves in 1981. They had a few good series. They took on the very weak-minded Minnesota North Stars and easily beat them in 5. In 1982, they didn't really have much to worry about and easily swept the Vancouver Canucks in 4 games. In 1983, they faced the brash Edmonton Oilers of Wayne Gretzky and Mark Messier and swept them in 4. However, the Islanders inadvertently gave the Oilers a bit of drive. Despite the fact the Islanders had won 4 straight Stanley Cups, they didn't really celebrate that much. And Gretzky and Messier realized stories that basically when they heard about how the Islanders were dealing with the playoffs, being a testimonial of grit and guts, not speed and finesse, they knew that they had to be more mentally and physically tough with themselves. And thus the Islanders' drive for 5 was ruined. The Islanders could have easily have faltered in '82 against the Pittsburgh Penguins and lost in overtime. They could have also faltered against the New York Rangers in the '84 division semis, I guess, first round. The New York Rangers took them to the deciding game, but in overtime, Ken Morrow puts the puck over Glenn Hanlon's shoulder, and the Islanders survive. The Islanders ended up winning 19 playoff series at that time, more so than the 5-time champion Montreal Canadiens from 56 to 60, but that's only because the Habs only had 2 playoff series to deal with in a playoff year, whereas the Islanders had 4. That will never be broken again. So anyway, the Oilers taught the Islanders a lesson, ruined their drive for 5, and the Islanders just faltered. In 1987, they picked up the pieces and faced the Washington Capitals in one of the most anticipated series. And the Islanders came back from 3-1 down to force a Game 7 on Landover, Maryland ice at the US Air Arena. And in the game called the Easter Epic, Pat LaFontaine scored 8:46 into the 4th overtime to send Washington out of the Cup. The Islanders would go on to lose to the Flyers easily in the 87 division finals, conference semifinals. The New York Islanders were embarrassed by the New Jersey Devils. Or was it Washington? I can't remember who the Devils embarrassed in 1988. But anyway, the Islanders were a little bit embarrassed. The Islanders didn't really have much of playoff drives. But 93 was a whole lot different. The Islanders took care of Washington in 6 games. But unfortunately, Game 6 would be controversial as it marked Pierre Turgeon's massive injury thanks to a Dale Hunter check delivered way after the goal was scored. Dale Hunter would pay the price, 21-game suspension, which was the longest by a player until Marty McSorley's 23 games for what he did to Brashear in 2000. So anyway, the Islanders lost Turgeon. However, they didn't lose hope, led by some young stars like Ray Ferraro and Randy Woods, among others. The Islanders would be facing Pittsburgh, the dominant Pittsburgh team that had a 17-game winning streak snapped on the final day, but it was a tie, so Pittsburgh was undefeated in 18 straight games to end the regular season. The Islanders knew what they had to do, get on Mario Lemieux's nerves, and they did. And it worked. Kasparaitis did his job, and the Islanders won Game 7 in overtime. David Folak, the most unlikely player you could think of. He scored the winning goal for Al Arbor and sent the Islanders to the conference finals against the Montreal Canadiens. Thankfully, Canadiens fantasy came to life as the Islanders could only muster 1 win over the Montreal Canadiens. Ironically as it sounds, and I know I didn't say this in the Montreal one, is that Montreal actually had an 11-game winning streak to tie the 92 Hawks and 92 Penguins for the best in one playoff season in a row. Because Montreal won 4 straight after being down 2-0 to Quebec. They swept Buffalo, and they won the first 3 games against the Islanders before losing Game 4 on Long Island. New York Islanders in 94 tried again. They couldn't beat the New York Rangers, even though the Islanders always seem to have the Rangers number at their home base in the regular season and playoffs. The Rangers came through when it counted and took care of the Islanders in 4 games. Ron Hextall was just pure shit in that series. So anyway, the New York Islanders had 8 straight years of not making the playoffs. And in that time, Mike Milbury as GM ruined the team. Not as much as John Spannell did by faking his way to be the New York Islanders owner. If you don't know what I'm talking about, watch the 30 for 30 called Big Shot. It's amazing. So anyway, the Islanders had problems. They traded away such luminaries as Wade Redden, Roberto Luongo, Ryan McCabe, Ryan Berard, Trevor Linden, and they had him. Who else? Siggy Palffy. Ole Jokinen, Ole Kavasha, Matthew Schneider, the list goes. Wendell Clark, I guess. So anyway, yeah, Milbury fucked up the team in 20 ways from sundown. 2002, the Islanders got back to the playoffs and took on the much improved Toronto Maple Leafs. Hopefully, try to get revenge for what happened 24 years prior. Unfortunately for the others, they lost Game 7 again to the Toronto Maple Leafs, but it was in Toronto's arena. So basically, Leafs win, Leafs win, Leafs win. So anyway, the Islanders kept trying and trying, but they didn't have any much luck. But in 2007, the Islanders got some kind of payback against the Toronto franchise. Headed into the final weekend of the regular season, the Islanders, Habs, and Leafs were all fighting for that number 8 spot. On the Saturday night game, the Leafs beat the Habs, making a massive comeback to sink the Maple Leafs' biggest rivals, the Canadiens. The Islanders had to win. A loss by any stretch, even in a shootout or overtime, would have meant the Leafs would sneak in with the 8th seed and face Buffalo in the first round. I know a lot of people think that Toronto was going to get their asses kicked by Buffalo in the playoffs, but to make the playoffs is one thing. So anyway, the Devils actually decided not to put Brodeur in the net and put Scott Clemmensen in. I never forgave the Devils or Scott Clemmensen for that move, because the Islanders pulled a rabbit out of hat and won in the shootout. But no thanks to Polish-born goalie Wade Dubowitz, who came out of freaking nowhere and sunk the Leafs. So the Islanders went to the Stanley Cup playoffs. I know they got blitzed by Buffalo. But the funny thing is, the day after the game of that Islanders Devils game, I was 22 years old. And I remember being at the Rogers Center watching the Blue Jays versus Royals the home opener for the Blue Jays live. And then this guy comes with a New York Islanders jersey on, and the fans just let him have it. I think he knew what he was doing. He was pissing off Leaf fans and all that. True story. So anyway, the Leafs had a lot of gusto. But anyway, the Islanders had a long drought of they made the playoffs on several occasions, but they couldn't pull a playoff series. Until 2016, that was when John Tavares, now Leaf, made a famous wraparound goal against the Florida Panthers and Luongo in Game 6 of the 2016 playoffs, sending the Islanders to their first playoff win in 23 years. Of course, the Islanders went down in the second round. That's good. The Islanders in 2019 shocked everyone by sweeping the Penguins in the first round. Unfortunately, Carba bit them in the ass when Carolina decided to sweep the Sweepers. And so the Islanders lost in 4 straight to Carolina. Now, there could have been a lot of what-ifs I could have done with the New York Islanders. But I've decided to do the 1975 team. There's a good reason why. So anyway, in 75, the New York Islanders were in the 3rd year, and Chico Resch was the starting goalie. The Islanders would face the Pittsburgh Penguins, they of the much troubled money woes. So anyway, they took on the Penguins in the playoffs and were down 3-0. Conventional wisdom said that Pittsburgh would easily go on to face the Philadelphia Flyers and try to win a spot in the Stanley Cup Finals against the defending champions. Now, I could have easily done the 75 Penguins as the what-if because, of what happened next. The Islanders put up 4 straight wins. I believe Game 4 was an overtime win for the Islanders, but it proved to be worthy as the New York Islanders won all 4 games, including Game 7 at the Civic Arena, to sink the Pittsburgh Penguins. I could have done the 75 Penguins, but because the 93 Penguins had so much promise and fucking lost in the second round to the Islanders, I had to do the 93 Penguins. And it worked. So anyway, the 75 the Islanders would be facing the Philadelphia Flyers in the semifinals, whereas Montreal and Buffalo would meet in the other semifinal. Buffalo beat Ken Dryden to get to the final. The Islanders were down 3-0 to the Flyers. Well, this time they're going to get swept. Wait a minute. No. They win 3 straight. It's like, what? But unfortunately, the Islanders fell flat to the Kate Smith mystique. And obviously, Philly brought Kate Smith in to sing God Bless America and to sink the fucking once and for all. And they did. And the Flyers ended up winning the Stanley Cup. The Kate Smith mystique would actually be destroyed in '76 when the Habs won the Stanley Cup in Philadelphia, despite Kate Swift being around. So anyway, the Islanders in '75, I decided that, you know what, lightning strikes twice. I mean, if the Minnesota Wild can go in 2003, win 2 straight playoff series being down 3-1, the Islanders can do it, coming back from 3-0 down twice. So I'm going to be nice and give the New York Islanders, the third-year New York Islanders, a chance to face the Buffalo Sabres in the Stanley Cup Finals. Of course, you know, there were a few Islanders teams I could have done, but of course, the '84 team. But remember the rule. The team has to not make the finals at all. I don't like to redo Stanley Cup Finals. So anyway, here we go. So the New York Islanders take on the Buffalo Sabres, 74-75 teams. The Islanders 33 wins, 25 losses, 22 ties. Wow. Imagine if overtime actually existed. How good the Islanders could have possibly been. Buffalo 49, 16, and 15. So they were pretty good. They had the French Connection line. Roger Crozier resurrected his career after being victimized by the 1966 Red Wings and winning the Conn Smythe. Chico Resch is the star goalie for the 75 Islanders, not Billy Smith. So here we go. First game of the thing. So we're just going to make some changes. Game 1 went to the Sabres 5-2. The Islanders scored the first goal. J.P. Parise, him of the 11-second overtime goal to sink the New York Rangers in the preliminary round that got the Islanders to face Pittsburgh. From Drouin and Ed Westfall, former Bruin. Gilbert Perreault made it 1-1 on a power play goal. And even though Danny Garrett was in the box, Don Luce, Kitchener. Yeah, I think Don Luce was a Kitchener Ranger. He scored 30 seconds after that without shorthanded. Rick Martin scored on the power play after Denny Potvin got in trouble for unsportsmanlike conduct. 3-1. Denny Potvin did score to make it 3-2. Jim Lorentz. I don't remember if he was a Kitchener Ranger. I think he was a Kitchener Ranger. Kitchener! He scored to make it 4-2, and then he did it again, make it 5-2. Jimmy Lorentz, he of the bat, out of the stands. Crozier beats Resch. Lorentz number 1, Crozier number 2, Ricky Martin number 3. For Stars, game 2. And the Cupcakes won 4-3. Larry Carriere scored for the Sabres, but J.P. Parise and Bob Nystrom put up goals for the Islanders to make it 2-1. Jim Lorentz, Kitchener, scored 2 goals to make it 3-2. But Drouin in the third period did his job, tying the game. And then in overtime, J.P. Parise from Ed Westfall at 9:51 of double overtime. So great job by Parise with Chico and Lorentz. Buffalo heads to Long Island in a 1-1 series. And the Islanders win 2-1. Low-scoring affair, eh? Danny Garrett gets the goal for the Sabres in the first period. It was 1-0, and then Andre St. Laurent, holy St. Laurent, from Billy McMillan and Clark Gillies. Billy McMillan, I think, played for the Atlanta Flames beforehand. Clark Gillies. And then Andre St. Laurent scored again. Who the hell is Andre St. Laurent? Anyway, 2-1 your final score. Chico beat Crozier, St. Laurent, Resch, and Billy McMillan. In game 3, let's have a game 4. So the Buffalo Sabres force a game 6 at the very least, 5-4. Rick Dudley scored for the Sabres. Clark Gillies made it 1-1. Ghislain Gouverment, nice name to say, made it 2-1. And a pair of goals by Rene Robert made it 4-1. After Rick Dudley scored at 6 minutes in the second period, Billy Smith comes in. Bob Nystrom made it 5-2. Ralph Stewart made it 5-3. Great job. And Clark Gillies made it 5-4, but unfortunately they couldn't score any more goals on Crozier. Billy Smith pitches a shutout. So Dudley, Robert, and Luce are your 3 stars. So the others go back to Buffalo, and they decide to give Billy Smith, the greenhorn, a bit of a start. Why not? I mean, he stopped all 18 shots. And the plan failed. One rinky-dinky goal, and that was by hate from Rene Robert and Ricky Dudley. So the Sabres are up 3-2. 1-0. Shots were 31-29. Billy Smith did okay in net. Second star, that's not bad. On to game number 6, and they decided to go with the rookie, with the veteran Chico Rush. Can Roger Croce give Buffalo a Stanley Cup in 1975? The answer is yes, he can. Yes, he can, and the Islanders fall 4-2. Ralph Stewart did score for the Islanders to make it 1-0. Jim Schoenfeld, have another donut, made it 1-1, and then Clark Gillies made it 2-1. Gilles Perreault made it 2-2. And then Jim Lorentz, Kitchener, scored in the final minute of the second period. Donnie Luce, Kitchener again. I keep thinking Don Luce isn't the guy from Kitchener. I'm thinking Don Everts. So I'm not sure. I'll have to look it up. I don't think Don Luce was a Kitchener Ranger. But anyway, Chico lost. Roger Crozier repeats himself as obviously the Conn Smythe winner. He won the Conn Smythe on a losing team in 66. He'll win the Conn Smythe as a winner in 75. Roger Crozier sadly died 20 years later. But they have a Roger Crozier, or I think they had one, for save percentage. I don't think it happens anymore. So the Sabres get the Stanley Cup. Rick Dudley, Don Luce, Rene Robert, Jerry Korab, Jim Schoenfeld, Ghislain Gouvernement, Bill Hay, Lee Vogelin Jr. Lee Vogelin played for the Sabres? Because I knew he played for the Oilers. Rick Martin, Larry Carrier, Gilles Perreault, Danny Gare, Jimmy Lorentz, Fred Stanfield, Larry Mickey, and Peter McNabb. Peter McNabb? Future Bruin. The Islanders had Andre St. Laurent, Bobby Nystrom, Denny Potvin, Dave Fortier, Jerry Hart, not the wrestling promoter, Burt Marshall, Ed Westfall, Dave Lewis, Clark Gillies, Ralph Stewart, Jean-Paul Parise, Joe Duane, Billy Harris, Ernie Hick, Gary Horat, Billy McMillan, John Potvin, Denny's brother, and Doug Romborough. I still don't know about Don Luce. I keep thinking that he was a Kitchener Ranger. I know Don Everts was. Let's see here. Oh, I am right. He did play for the Kitchener Rangers. Huh. All right then. Because it says Don Luce was drafted by the New York Rangers and played 3 seasons for their farm teams, the Kitchener Rangers. So he played. So yeah, he was drafted from the Kitchener Rangers. I was right the whole time. Beautiful. Well, that just goes to prove that I know what I'm fucking doing. But the New York Islanders, you don't know. You are yummy, yummy cupcakes, yummy, yummy cupcakes. Fuck that. Fuck that shit. Hope you have another Islander fan conceived in your team's crappy parking lot. Good day, good night, fuck you.